What does the radio tower hide from you off camera and behind the scenes? The radio tower is a short horror game where you, well, climb a disturbingly tall radio tower to restore communications. There's just one problem. A monster starts chasing you halfway up it. But of course, there's more to this game than meets the eye, and I'm gonna dive in and show you things you can't typically see. From teleporting cars, to what the city looks like as it ends from ground zero, and beyond. We'll also be breaking the game too. So I hope you enjoy today's look behind the scenes of the radio tower. As usual, I'll hit you with a very brief summary before diving in. In the radio tower, you are called to restore communication functionality at a very tall tower. You arrive on scene after a long drive, and then head into the building to grab tools. There's a cat you can pet too. As you make your way up the tower, you'll have a few Among Us power puzzles to solve, but it isn't long before a monster will start chasing you as it climbs the tower after you. You need to hit this monster with satellite dishes to slow it down, before ultimately shutting it behind a gate. You then make it to the top of the tower only to be confronted with two options: to restore communications and nuke the nearby city to save humanity, or to not do so, which ends the world. No pressure. So turning back time, before we free solo this tower like Alex Honnold, we have the title screen to explore. So right away, we can see that the title screen is made up of flat text placed behind some of the moving pine trees to give it that 3D effect. We can go behind it, and because it's just on a one-sided plane, it disappears. Panning over, we can see that the lake seems to have dried up. It's not blue like in the normal gameplay map, but there's still a space for it. And oh no! These two flocks of birds definitely just collided midair and flew on like they just don't care. Anyway, from up here we can see a few of the roads used to get to the tower. Now, if we were to look up, we can also see that the radio tower itself is not complete. It just sort of ends well before it does during gameplay. Just something simple enough to look good on the main menu. And here's a close and slowed down look at one of the flocks of the black-feathered, orange-beaked birds. Did I do it right, bird watchers? They seem no worse for the mid-air mishap, and will continue flying in circles forever. There are actually 3 flocks in total. If we check out the tower base area ahead of our scheduled shift, we can see that there is no cat, creepers, or anything else really. The building where our trophies, tool belt, and posters are is currently empty at this stage. But let's clock in and start the game. As we begin, there's a cutscene that shows our character driving to the tower location through the woods. We take a call while cruising around a few scenic bends in the road, ultimately pulling into the radio tower complex. Simple enough, but let's get behind the wheel here. Looking at the whole map, we can see the city and lake are here, but zooming into the truck, we'll notice something. The character has a head. Don't get used to this, because we don't have one through the whole gameplay from here on out. It only reappears at the very end for one of the choices. Right after this shot, you can see the truck disappears and teleports back again to where it just was. Only this time our character has no head. We're just a bare torso stump with arms and legs. We can answer our phone though, and from this new angle you'll notice that it is an absolute unit of a Nokia phone. I'm pretty sure that's just so it can appear legible from the camera's perspective when playing, but it's pretty funny to see now because those phones are bite-sized compared to cell phones today. Anyway, our feet also clip out of the bottom of the truck Flintstone style. We normally would not ever see this, as we're not supposed to be backseat driving at this point in the game, so let's yabba dabba do to another unseen thing. In the intro scene, the car drives over this small hill, and then seems to continue onto the radio tower site itself. Looking at this from a bird's eye view, we can actually see that the truck teleports yet again to a completely different patch of the forest road to make this look seamless. I do have to give a specific call out to something that comes through on the truck's radio. Out of the speaker static, we can hear a snippet of Manly Badass Hero, a YouTuber who plays a lot of horror games. I recommend checking him out. Anyway, from this view we can see that Oliver, the cat, is already on the newspaper pile, but with that, we've arrived at the job site. Now, normally at this point in the game, we can walk to the shed with our tool belt in it, but we are able to explore the grounds before we do. And as we do, we can not only scare some crows as we encounter them, but also be scared ourselves by something creepy in the distance that's watching us. Inside the fenced-in area, we see the cute cat Oliver, bathing on a pile of newspapers. We can pet him, so this game is perfect. Other than that, in the shed we'll find some posters with some ominous advertisements. any achievement trophies we've earned, a lot of debris, and our handy tool belt. After grabbing this, we can begin our climb. But before we do that, let's take a well-earned break. First second on the job, and we're going to slack off and take a character on a joy flight over the whole forest. Hey, we have a pretty nice view of the city from here. Let's check it out. Zooming around in here sure is eerie. There's no one and nothing on the streets or above it. Now, normally you can't get here. There are a lot of planes, colliders, and mountain geometry blocking our character from walking here. If we did get here, there's nowhere to stand as the city ground has no collision. So trying to stand here would have us plummeting to our death. I tried to turn this fall to the underworld into a heavenly experience, and mid-fall I put us above the clouds far above the map. And boy, do these clouds go on forever. But what happens if we bring the city to us? I managed to get some ominous buildings to hover above the forest like a monolithic god. Unfortunately, I couldn't climb on top of this building, and just fell through. Now, those crows we scared, where do they go? Turns out they seem to go into the trees and then disappear. And we also need to confront our shadow. And by that I mean those forest shadow figures that keep creepily spying on us. These show up at two places near the edge of the forest, and one behind the compound. Usually these just disappear before you can get a good look, but let's get up close to see what these are made of, shall we? Huh, it looks like it's us, our male casual model, but all solid shaded, and with a head that has some seriously spiky white eyes. All the better to see us with, especially if we scale the shadow up some. Now, this guy could probably take on that tower monster and survive. Let's do the same thing to poor Oliver. He deserves a fighting chance after what we do to him with those nasty satellite dishes. If we scale him up, this massive cat doesn't seek revenge, but just keeps on bathing and purring like a good boy. Things get less happy when we turn on all the cat models at once. We see the poor cat's model as it runs to the tower to investigate the first screw dropping, and his unfortunate final form. Cats have 9 lives though, right? How about a refreshing dip in the lake before we start our treacherous climb? Now, normally we can't get here, so let's sprint on over to see what it's all about. Something interesting is that there are actually 2 depths of water. The one on the surface we see, but when we drop down below it and can no longer see it, we'll see what looks like the lake bed, or smaller areas of depth. I think we're both now under the water and walking on top of it at the same time. But while I'm enjoying seeing the lake bed world, we can see the tower in the distance, and duty calls. Back at the tower, once we pop on the ladder, we can only climb, unscrew satellite dishes with our screwdriver, open and solve electric box puzzles, and try to outpace a deranged monster. But of course, there's more going on here than meets the eye. The very first satellite dish we unscrew from the tower warns us that doing so will kill poor Oliver. After we undo the first screw, Oliver gets up and comes over to investigate this new falling toy. Once the second screw is undone, the whole contraption falls on top of him. We usually can't get off the ladder to see what happens, and our body blocks it from view, but here we can see what it looks like from a different perspective. When I watched this happen from the base of the ladder, Oliver's forever asleep body appeared first, and then the animation of him walking over from the newspaper started. So it looked like he was investigating his own death. Perhaps I unscrewed both too fast. Even without the monster, we're not alone on this radio tower. There's a crow chilling on a satellite dish, and here's what it looks like flying away from us. Usually we can't see this angle since we're standing on the ladder. One of the electric boxes really high up is infested with spiders too, which is a big heck no. After a certain point in our climb, the ladder begins to shake, and the monster starts to chase us up the tower. In order to slow it down, we need to unscrew and throw satellite dishes down on it as we make our way to safety above. But what does this monster look like chasing us after the cutscene is done? Usually we're stuck to the ladder and can only see somewhat below us. So let's take a closer look. We can see what's left of its skin sticking to the weirdly morphed bone structure. Its tongue alone is something to behold. And while we're taking a look at this thing, let's cover the jump scare. From a first-person perspective, it will grab us, shake us, and throw us to the ground. And it's quite a long fall. We then get a view from our mangled body looking upward before the game reloads. So restarting the jump scare, we see it grabs our headless torso, shakes us around a bit, dislodging the screwdriver, and throws our body all the way down the tower. We normally can't see what our death looks like, but here we've become some mangled mess of limbs. And what I assume is blood is all gray on top of our clothing texture. We did not go quietly into the night. But as we are busy falling to our death, the monster is celebrating. It keeps repeating its throwing animation over and over until we hit the ground. Now hopping back on the ladder, what happens if we do hit the monster with a falling dish? Normally we can't see this, but from here we can see that it doesn't have an animation, but just freezes and stops for a bit, giving us time to get away. Once we get away, the monster retreats from the gate, but you can't follow it. So let's do just that. Once the monster freezes in place at the hatch, it then slides all the way down the tower before eventually disappearing. Past the monster threat, we can't continue our climb. These live electric wires can't actually hurt us, even if we repeatedly throw ourselves in danger. We just can't climb past it. Strangely, there is an advertisement inside this electric box. It's marketing to a very select group way up here on this impossibly tall tower. Anyway, fixing the electricity puzzle actually turns off the live wires, which doesn't actually make sense. But something interesting to note is that the city starts burning the second you touch the screw on this last electric box. 1 second is fine, and the next it's up in flames. Once we finally get to the top of the tower, we can hear the screams from the burning city far away. Then we have those two choices: to restore communications and blow up the city, or to save ourselves, and presumably let the Forever Serum creatures overrun the planet. But before we make our choice, let's get up close and see what's going on amid the chaos in Crimson Pine City. As you may have guessed, it's still a bunch of buildings, but now with a bunch of billboarded flames that always face the camera. Let's settle in and find a good spot in this inferno to see what happens when we choose Restore and contact the company from Ground Zero. We normally see this happen from high up in the tower. A plane appears pretty quickly and drops a bomb on the city, but from down here, it's something else. We can see the plane swoop in ominously from above, drop the bomb at our level, and then shapes explode out of it. A mushroom cloud and blast ring with intense light that engulfs the city. Choosing this selfless option lets the rest of the world survive, as we find out during a voiceover as the credits start to roll. But what about the other ending? Choosing the second option, disrupt and escape alone, plays a cutscene that takes place 6 months later. We are alone in a cave, sobbing, and our character is fully modeled. The virus has destroyed what's left of humanity, and we are told to enjoy the end peacefully. But before that fateful end, let's explore the world outside this cave. Venturing out, we'll see that we didn't actually make it that far past the tower in 6 months. We're in a cave in the mountains between the city and the tower. The tower has fallen and looks like a broken stairway to the afterlife in the sky. But I mentioned we were in the mountains between the tower and city, so let's check out that city we saved. Going through the mountains, we can see that it's gone. Just gone. Razed to the ground, completely obliterated, not by the bomb, but by the virus? Spooky. But with that, that's everything I found hidden off camera and behind the scenes in the radio tower. I hope you enjoyed today's game-breaking adventure, and I'll see all of you very soon. Thanks for watching, and cheers.